Mexico had a better World Cup than the United States, so why does it feel like American players are the ones Europe actually wants? Because while Mexico might have won the argument on the pitch, something very different has been happening away from it. American players keep finding pathways into Europe, and the interesting part isn't necessarily where they're going, it's how they're getting there. Because when a young American player gets an opportunity at a club in England, Germany, Belgium, the Netherlands, or somewhere else in Europe, the answer increasingly seems to be simple: go. Even if it isn't Real Madrid, even if it isn't Manchester City, even if it isn't Champions League football, and that might sound obvious, but it's one of the biggest differences developing between football in the United States and Mexico, because becoming a great footballing nation isn't just about producing talented players. It's about what happens to those players after you produce them. And right now, America seems to be building a system designed to move its best young talent forward, while Mexico has a much more complicated problem. For decades, Mexico was comfortably the dominant footballing nation in North America. Liga MX had better clubs, better players, more history, more passionate supporters, and generally a much stronger football culture, while the United States was playing catch-up. But something has started to change. Not necessarily because MLS suddenly became better than Liga MX overnight, but because MLS started understanding its position in world football. The league realized that it didn't need to compete directly with the Premier League, La Liga, or the Bundesliga. It could become something else, a stepping stone. Develop a player, give him professional minutes, put him in front of scouts, and when Europe calls, sell him, then do it again and again and again. That's incredibly important because European clubs don't only scout players based on how good they are right now, they're trying to calculate what that player could become. And think about it from the perspective of a European sporting director. You could spend a massive transfer fee on an established player who is already approaching his peak, or you could spend significantly less on a 19 or 20-year-old prospect, develop him for 2 seasons, and potentially sell him for 5 times what you paid. That second option is basically the foundation of entire football clubs. Brighton have become famous for it, so have clubs like Benfica, Ajax, Salzburg, and countless others around Europe, and MLS has increasingly made itself compatible with that ecosystem. Look at the pathway Americans have already taken. Tyler Adams left the New York Red Bull system for RB Leipzig. Brenden Aaronson went from Philadelphia Union to Salzburg before eventually reaching the Premier League, and Alphonso Davies, although Canadian rather than American, went from Vancouver Whitecaps to Bayern Munich and became one of the most recognizable examples of what North American development could produce. The individual stories are different, but the message to European scouts is the same. There are young players here, and more importantly, you can actually buy them. That's where Mexico runs into one of its biggest problems. Liga MX isn't a poor league, and strangely enough, that can actually work against Mexican players trying to reach Europe. Mexican clubs can sell players domestically for significant money. So if another Liga MX team is willing to pay a large fee for a promising Mexican player, why would his club accept considerably less from a mid-table European side? Financially, that makes sense, but from a developmental perspective, it creates a strange situation. A young Mexican player can become too expensive for the European clubs that would realistically develop him, while simultaneously not being good enough yet for the European giants that can afford him. And suddenly he's stuck in the middle. This doesn't mean Mexican clubs are doing something stupid, they're businesses, and if someone domestically will pay more money, they're naturally going to listen. But what's best for an individual club isn't always what's best for a national team's development, and that's where America's approach becomes interesting. So if Mexico wants to send more players to Europe, what actually needs to change first? The clubs, the players, the transfer fees, or the entire system? Let us know what you think down below in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe.